Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back to my channel. So today on the new week open analysis, I'll be talking about we'll be looking into DXY, Euro USD, gold, and of course BTC like we always do. So 2 weeks ago, I called for this area that's on DXY. This is DXY 1 month time frame, and I have been looking out for this area for market to come down to show some mitigation before market will continue to this external fair value gap as my draw on liquidity. Like I always tell you guys, that market moves from liquidity point to another liquidity area, right? So if I was looking at this area to be my some kind of internal range liquidity, then this should be my internal. This is an order block, right? So I was looking out for this area as my discounted point of interest for market to mitigate, then should also come for this external range liquidity as my what draw on liquidity, right? So I like last week has just been a consolidated week, right? And I'm still hoping for price to come out to come at least down into this area before we can see a reaction. And on the lower time frame, I think this area is a protected low, so I don't want to see price come for this low, except if we kind of take out this high. For example, if market took out this high, then give us a reaction, then from this area we'll be looking for like a decision. This fair value gap is a decisional area, right? That market can come into, then decide if it's going to continue towards this fair value gap or give us a deeper retracement towards these areas before continuing to maybe mitigate this fair value gap above or continue towards the downside, right? So then I have been So then I've been looking at for the mitigation of this particular order block, right? Then but market yakizwa maona value gap and market yakizwa maona order block and before like when for this fair value gap, right? So this is the decisional area, and market has been consolidating for at least I think a week now. So this is the 1 month time frame, and if you look at the weekly time frame, you can see this area has been the protected low so far, right? So on the weekly time frame, this is the same area I've been looking at for that. The market is one area then now, and Yabani mitigation, claim mitigation. Then I believe market will come out for one external range liquidity then, because this is the internal. This demand zone is the internal range liquidity, and this area has been taken out. So there's I don't think the price has any business coming down to this area again. So where should I be paying attention to? One area then, right? So what I'm looking out for is for market to come to this area, enable mitigation. Then I'll be looking for a lower time frame confirmation for price to take out this high, then maybe continue to the upside, right? But then market has been consolidating for 2 consecutive weeks. Previous week, one week then the 1 week in the Makabari. So these 2 weeks has been consolidation as far as I am concerned. One night is a shallow mitigation, right? But then I still believe I didn't mean this low has been taken last week. 1 week in the Maka photo. I didn't mean like price has taken the low of that previous week. Then I'll like be with looking out for continuation and maybe fade in this area. But for price to come very, very close and refuse to take out the low of this price, then it is showing you that there is an unfinished business at Wajan, that price can decide to open this week, come for the low, something like this, and mitigate one other block, then start pushing aggressively to the upside, because I suspect this week is going to be an expansive week with expansion, very, very aggressive. Why? Because market has been consolidating for a while. So if the market decides to move, it is going to like manipulate, take out the low of these 2 weeks, then push aggressively immediately after the like mitigation of this area. So I'm still watching out for this area. But if price decide to close above this area by next week, then I will fade this area, right? But as far as this area is still sitting, I'm still watching for price to come for it. This is on the weekly time frame, and if you look at it on the daily time frame, it kind of also makes sense, right? That this is just like you see, this is just a consolidation for I think almost 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Market has just been consolidating around this particular area. So this fair value gap is still the area to watch, right? And you can also see it's sitting on the premium OTE zone, right? The OTE of this high, sorry, the OTE of this low, which is the protected low, might like the last swing, which is a protected low, today high we have around this area. That actually one in favor value gap then is on the like OTE zone and also these demand zones, right? So I'm looking at for market to kind of come into this area, show alignment, and continue pushing to the upside, right? So this is where your patience is kind of going to work. When you don't have patience in this market, you are just going to be taking random trades. Although I will confess that I took some trade around this area, like a counter trade, but then counter trade are very very stressful. They are going to stress you, and they are not the kind of trade you should be taking like at any time. And you can see how price also mitigated one area and then one supply zone. This is a clean mitigation and rejection, right? You see. So if you're a counter trend or if you do take counter trade, you would have been looking for sales from the mitigation of this high down to this internal range liquidity, because this is an external, then price should come for the internal, then push again towards the upside, something like this. As price left this area, then you can see the order flow is still bearish for as far as this supply zone is concerned. Then what price can do is for price to come for this open fair value gap and tap into maybe this supply zone, then for continue pushing towards the upside, right? So on DXY, this is what I'm currently looking at. As far as price is within this range, this protected high, this is the protected high, right? As far as price is within this area and within this fair value gap, I have no business anywhere around here. But if you are someone that do trade counter trend, then maybe you'll be looking out for the mitigation of this open gap for price to continue going down like this, taking out this relative equal lows into this fair value gap before continue pushing to the upside, because that's what I will also be looking out for, not necessarily trading it, because I just believe counter trend trades, they are very stressful and complicated, right? Compared to when you are actually taking a trade from a pro trend direction. So this is just like a short-term retracement into like discounted point of interest before price continue pushing to the upside. So when price is kind of coming down into a discounted point of interest, when you are in a bullish trend, it's going to like be choppy, very slow, and somehow. But when price has already mitigates a discounted point of interest going up following the higher time frame directional bias, you are going to be seeing volatility and clean movement, clean market structure, and everything. So that's the best kind of trade for you to be taking at any time. So this is the DXY, and what I'm looking out for is for price to mitigate maybe this area, then come for this fair value gap, then align bullish on the lower time frame like 4 hour and the rest, then give me a clean entry for me to continue buying towards what the upside, for price to take out this equal highs on the weekly and the monthly time frame. Yeah, so this is my take on the DXY. So on Euro USD, same thing. I'll be starting from the monthly time frame. As you can see, I've been analyzing this for a while now, and when I take inner market price has mitigated this supply zone on the monthly time frame, and ever since then, sweeping this internal liquidity, this short-term high, align bearish, price has been pushing towards the downside, and you can see all the push towards the downside is aggressive compared to the counter retracement, right? So we had market structure shifts on the weekly time frame. We have been analyzing this for a while, and this is my overall drawn liquidity 1 year and now. And you can see how market structure is very clean on the weekly time frame. Market has given us a change of character, or should I say shift in market structure around this area, came back to mitigate this QM and the supply zone, and it immediately rejected the area, and price has never revisited this area again. And you can see how price has been moving perfectly, like fine, creating supply zones, respecting the premium point of interest is, and the like supply zones. One is a supply zone. This is the first supply zone that was created from the mitigation of this high. Market created this supply zone, and you can see how market mitigated, price mitigated it very clean and reject here. You can see the rejection sweeping the short-term high. Market drop aggressively, and this is why I told you, right, that in the hard market yana bearish programs ko kuma bearish trends, right, za ka ga cewa the move downward is going to be very clean and very sharp, very aggressive compared to idan price yana retracing. Yanda za ka gane pro trend kenan da like counter trend, pro trend, right? So after market ya bar wannan supply zone, then you can see the aggressive drop, these two candles, right? One candle and the one candle, and you can see how it's dropped aggressively. But look at this counter trend retracement, just a single candle and very slow. Then one candle, then again drop aggressively. This particular candle very slow, and one candle you can see as this one too, it dropping aggressively, this one to drop aggressively, and now this is the supply that market has put in. Now I suspect this week is going to be very aggressive again, but then just like one area, then the one area, then you can see how price one area mitigating supply point of interest. That's why the following week did not take out the high. But look at this one did not tap into a particular supply zone, and you can see how one took it out before dropping. So that's the same thing I'm expecting this week, right? To see how market is either going to take out this high of the supply zone, because this is the like the right order flow, right? The correct order flow to follow. When you are in a pro trend, you want to see how market is going to hold, how all the supply zones, how all the premium point of interest are going to hold price, right? But then look at how this 2 weeks has been consolidating, 1 week and then the 1 week, and they are all consolidative week, because as far as I am concerned, this has been the range, one and the high of this particular candle and the low of one candle, and right has been the range. Let me make it in another color for, and this area has been my range, right? So from 2 weeks ago, I told you I want to see how market is going to mitigate one supply zone, then because this has been the protected high, right? If market can come back to this area, and I will be looking out for like massive drop, I can something like this mitigation of the price should take out this previous week high and the previous week high again for immediate drop towards this, what's giving me a new kind of break of structure, right? So that's what I have been looking out for on the weekly time frame throughout last week, and price has just been consolidating. So I was just kind of now you can also see on the daily time frame that that area makes super sense, right? That this is the high of the 2 weeks time, 2 weeks highs. The previous week high is here, the following, like the week before that, the high is here, and there's an open gap on the daily time frame. So it is clear that market should kind of come back for these highs before continue dropping to the downside. So on Euro USD, these are the areas I'm looking out for. If price can come into this area, then align bearish on the 4-hour time frame or the 1-hour time frame, then I'll be looking at to take a trade, and my protected zone or my protected high should be this high on the daily time frame, right? Although I'm looking at for this area, I'm not going to just going to like take an immediate trade or eliminate other trade. No, I'm going to wait for market to come and mitigate that area. Then I'll be looking for a secondary confirmation on 4 hour time frame or 1 hour time frame, shifting market structure or change of character, something like this, changing character like this from uptrend trend to downtrend. Then I'll be looking out for entry around this area for continuation towards the downside. So this is kind of my take on the Euro USD, what I'll be looking out for the following week or maybe way into the next week. So on gold, I'm still going to go as high as into the 1 month time frame, and this is the area I'm currently watching out for. You can see how price came very close to mitigating that fair value gap, but then rejected. So this is the area I'm still watching out for. I want to see how price will come into this fair value gap, because this has been my draw on liquidity, although I'm also looking out for this huge fair value gap, depending on how the situation on the Middle East is still kind of going. So I don't think the ceasefire currently going is going to hold. So if it's hold, then we're going to be seeing higher prices, right? But then as far as me I'm concerned, I'm still watching out for this fair value gap, right? To get mitigated before price should like decide if it's going to come for this lower fair value gap or continue pushing to the outside, right? So on the weekly time frame, also you can see that the order flow has been very clean on the weekly time frame, and there is nothing that is signifying that price has shifted structure to the upside, right? Except for the fundamentals, but then the the charts are showing otherwise, right? So like you can see how market started the programs from this area, and ever since then market has just been pushing, respecting all the premium point of interest like this one and like this one and this area too. After market mitigated this area, I think this is the last area, right? The market mitigated, then drop aggressively, and this has been a little bit of consolidation, but then the order flow is still bearish until price get into this fair value gap, as far as me personally I'm concerned, right? So I think the last swing we had was this one. Ideally it was this one, because this is a shallow rejection, right? But then we're going to see how it is on the daily time frame. If it's kind of makes sense, then we are going to consider it, right? And this is it on the daily time frame. It kind of makes sense, right? One machine, the last one we had, because this is a clean rejection compared to this one. You can see how this has been a good retracement into a discounted point of interest like this, from this high to this low. You can see how price came back to the OTE zone, then drop again. So this one pullback then makes sense compared to this one. This one is just a shallow pullback, but then it is what the market is currently giving us, right? So if this area is going to hold as the protected high, then we should be seeing what rejection off of this area, right? Market has given us inducement here, because this is an inducement, right? Because this low has been protected. So if market is going to like push into this fair value gap, this is the most ideal area on the daily time frame. And let's see how it looks on the weekly time frame. Okay, this is a trade I took last week. It's a very nice one, but then very risky, but it's a very nice one. I think almost everyone saw this sell on gold last week. Yeah, kusan kowa ya ga wannan sell din nan, and I believe that is why it hold, right? But I don't trust it. I've already taken my 3RR and out, but then one trade in I believe almost everyone saw it because I've been watching. So it's been a very nice one. So the most ideal area now on the daily time frame is this protected, this zone. If price can push again to this high, then it will be very nice. Although this area has been already protected, you can see that this one wajan is a sweep of liquidity a wajen nan. There was a sweep of liquidity a wajen nan, making that single candle to be a protected high. wannan area ɗin nan. So usually if market put in a protected high, it is very very hard for it to go back to that area again. But then there's this area for someone to kind of watch in case if we see an aggressive push, then market can kind of come into this area before continue pushing to the downside. I can know. So using these two areas as inducement, right? But then the market will do what the market wants to do. So we'll just keep the watch going into next week, inshallah. Then on BTC again, almost similar with gold. BTC has been doing very very well, respecting the order flow, which is the bearish order flow. You can see how the January candle mitigated one area then and dropped massively, aggressively again. Then we had a counter trend put in to mitigate one resistance, then the market drop aggressively again. So I suspect this is the same thing that is kind of going to happen around this area. That market is going to come back to mitigate this area. Okay, now pay attention to BTC, right? What BTC has been doing after the push aggressively to take out one low and this low. I've been seeing this for a while now that I'm not interested in taking any shot around these lows until price came back to this one area in the right, and you can see what has been happening. Because there's no way price is going to drop aggressively without giving you a counter trend, kokuma a deep retracement before continuation to the downside, right? So I've been saying this for a while that market should at least come back into this area, mitigate, then continue pushing to the downside, and that's what I've been waiting for. Although I've taken some trade around this area, but then the most ideal area to watch out for is this area on the higher time frame candle before market should continue to take out these lows and this low also. And you can also see how price has taken out this low before. Like, these are the random things you should be, like, very important things you should be watching out for, right? When you see a drop aggressively like this and you are expecting a pullback, so before that pullback happen, watch out how market reacts to the low of like the previous. This is a previous month, right? And it has been very very massive and aggressive. But immediately the next month opens, which is the current month we are in, look at how it took out the low of that previous month before putting in the counter trend. So this is a sign, this is a signature that price will like give you a deeper retracement before it continues pushing to the downside. So this is this BTC on the monthly time frame, and you can also see how price has mitigated one supply zone din nan, wannan area din da muka samu wannan resistance din on the monthly time frame, this resistance. So price has already mitigated it before it went down, right? But still you can still see a deeper retracement into this area, because as far as I'm concerned, one area din is the protected high for me currently. One on BTC. So this is my protected high. So if this is my protected high, where is the most ideal area for me to like start looking for myself? So this key level, this rejection zone, right? Anything within this area is good. From this area to this high is good as far as me I'm concerned. So these are what I'll be watching out for on the lower time frame. This is the rejection zone, right? So I'll go down to the lower time frame and investigate the area to see if there's anything I can like put my eyes on and wait for price to come down to that area, come up to that area. Then I'll be looking for confirmation for further sales, right? So if that's the case, then we'll go down to 1 hour daily time frame to see what is actually at that area. You can see an area then on the daily time frame. There's not too much on the daily time frame except for this liquidity, because this single candle is a liquidity, right? And I'll be looking out to see my price more and equal highs, and you all know what is equal highs, right? Liquidity. So in a calendar, the price is either taking out on the liquidity, and then now start looking out for my what sales, right? And one thing that will tell you that price will definitely take out one highs and then is how markets mitigated one area don wannan fair value gap, and there is a fair value gap a wajen, when market mitigated it, took it out, and now it's kind of heading for this highs, right? So if market should come for this equal highs, definitely market will also, price will also come for one single liquidity in the keyword. So we just keep the watch and see what price is going to kind of do going into next week. Probably Monday, Tuesday will push towards one of your value, one area, and then start looking out for sales. So yeah, stay on the daily time frame. It's the most ideal time frame on BTC. So this is the area I'm watching for BTC, right? And going into next week. So